Welcome back to my series where I rank the top 10 crash outs in the Bible. We ranked Peter and the ear incident as number 10. Number 9 was Elijah running from Jezebel after coming against 450 prophets of Baal. Number 8 was Jonah caring more about a plant he had for one day than the over 120,000 people plus animals in Nineveh. And today we're going to talk about a very important person in the Bible. He is very, very popular. You may know him as David or King David. Now, I know you might be thinking, oh, she's going to talk about David and Goliath. No, that's not even a crash out. I'm not even counting that as a crash out. I count that as standing on business for the Lord. That's not a crash out. We're going to talk about something that I don't really hear people talk about. And it kind of blows my mind the first time I read about this, right? So I want to give you guys a little bit of context on David's journey to kingship. So David was the youngest of 8 boys. So I'm not even counting the sisters. And he got anointed to be king, right? So the prophet Samuel came to his father's house, Jesse, and was like, hey, the Lord said that there's going to be a king anointed from your house. Bring out your sons. So Jesse, being Jesse, decided, oh yeah, I got 7 good sons right now. So again, David was the youngest of 8 sons. Jesse brought out 7 sons. Okay, you following along? So Samuel is waiting for the Lord to anoint at least one of the 7 sons because they look like, physically they look like they could be valiant warriors. I mean, they were already kind of battling and, they look the part of kingship, and the oil does not flow. The anointing does not run. Samuel's like, okay, I know what the Lord said. You have to have another son. Bring him to me. And they're like, yeah, it's David though, and he's out there with the sheep. You know what I mean? Like, he's the youngest. So they bring him out. Samuel's like, we're not even going to sit down till you go bring that boy. They bring him out. But the thing about David is it's another story that looks can be deceiving. David loved the Lord. David absolutely loved the Lord because you know what? His family couldn't stand him. They thought he was pesky. He was the youngest. But he just had a heart for the Lord. He was after God's own heart, as described in the Bible. And so when he would be out there with the sheep, there would be lions and bears that would come against him. But he knew the Lord. And so the Lord instilled a kind of confidence and a faith that he used for the rest of his life. I mean, there was literally no one like David in the Bible. This is when he was young. Okay, fast forward, he does the David and Goliath thing, right? And Saul favors David. Now, Saul is the first king of the nation of Israel. This was the first person that God picked to be king. The kingship was stripped away from Saul because God was like, you know what? You don't like me. You don't love me. You don't care about what I have to say. You care about what people have to say. You're not even doing what I asked you to do. So not only is the kingship stripped away from Saul, it's also stripped away from Saul's family, mainly Jonathan, who would have been next in line, who was also a valiant warrior and was a really good friend of David. Let me set the scenery. So Saul gets jealous of David because at this point, David has made a great name for himself. He's become a valiant warrior. They have created songs about him and Saul, and they are saying essentially in these songs that David is better than Saul. And mind you, again, Saul is the king and David is what? Oh, okay. So Saul starts to pursue David for his life. So there is one incident where it gets so bad that he has to flee to a little place called Gath in Achish, if I can find it. Here we go. 1 Samuel 21:10. David fled that day from Saul's presence and went to King Achish of Gath. But Achish's servants said to him, isn't this David, the king of the land? Don't they sing about him during their dances? Saul has his thousands, but David his tens of thousands. So again, other people in other nations are like, yeah, that's David. Yeah, like Saul. Yeah, but that's David though. Like, what's he doing over here, right? David heard this, and I quote, so he pretended to be insane in their presence. He acted like a madman around them, scribbling on the doors of the city gate and letting saliva run down his beard. So at this point, he's not even acting the part. He's not just acting the part. He's starting to look the part. So King Achish is like, you can see the man is crazy. Why'd you bring him to me? Do I have a shortage of crazy people that you brought this one to act crazy around me? Is this one going to come into my house? Valid. I mean, again, he was being pursued for several years from Saul. Several years. I mean, the silver lining of that is that we got the Psalms, and the Psalms is the biggest book in the Bible. It is 150 chapters. I'm not saying every Psalm is from David, but he wrote some bangers in there while he was being pursued by Saul. And it had gotten so bad that, remember I told you his family was not really standing 10 toes behind him, down for him? It got so bad that in one of the times where David was fleeing, when he actually fled Gath, he went and took refuge in a cave, as seen as in 1 Samuel 22. And David's brothers and father's whole family heard. They went down and joined him there. I'm talking whole family. I'm talking, it even says his mother was there. Not only was his mother there and his brothers and his father, every man who was desperate, in debt, or discontented rallied around him, and he became their leader. So he's sort of like the leader of the misfits at this point. That's how, David was rugged like that. You know what I mean? Much respect to David. But in my opinion, again, this is a very valid crash out. If you were being pursued by someone that you used to call father, and someone who had favored you, and then all of a sudden just changes like that, and you got to go from place to place to place to place, I do whatever it took to. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to make another video soon, and stay tuned.